The diner was almost empty when the baby started screaming. Elena cross-froze behind the counter with a dish towel in her hands, the sound slicing through the last clink of plates and the low buzz of the neon sign. Corner booth, back wall, booth 7. A man sat slumped there in a dark coat, too big for the space, one arm hooked around a car seat like he was anchoring it to the world. Another car seat was wedged beside him against the wall. 2 infants, both crying now, one loud, one ragged and hiccuping. Blood gathered on the tabletop and ran in slow lines to the edge. It dripped to the floor. Elena's throat went dry. Her first instinct was to call for Rosa, to pretend this wasn't her problem. But Rosa was in the kitchen counting the register, humming like it was any other night. Elena moved anyway. Her shoes squeaked on the tile as she crossed the room, every step feeling too loud. The man's head was tipped forward, dark hair wet as if he'd walked through the rain without noticing. His jaw was clenched hard enough to make a muscle jump. "Sir." Elena kept her voice low. "Are you hurt?" His eyes lifted, dark and focused, like he was forcing himself to stay present. His gaze snapped to the door, then the window, then back to her, sharp with something that wasn't panic. "Please," he said, scraped out like it cost him. "No hospital." Elena's stomach tightened. "You're bleeding." "I know." His accent was subtle, a shadow on certain words. "No police." The baby in the nearest car seat shrieked again, fists opening and closing, tiny fingers searching for something to grab. Elena glanced down. Boy, she thought, because his little face looked like outrage. The second baby's lashes were wet. "Girl." Her mouth made an O between sobs, like she was trying to be quiet and couldn't. Elena forced her eyes back to the man's shoulder. The coat was dark, but the stain spreading beneath it was darker. When he shifted, just slightly, the fabric stuck and pulled. Gunshot. Her mind supplied it cleanly, clinical. Her chest flashed with memory, white lights, metal rails, her father's hand going cold in hers. Elena swallowed and shoved the flash away. "Okay," she heard herself say, and hated how steady it sounded. "Stay still." His lips pressed together. "They will come." "Who?" Elena asked, but he didn't answer. His gaze flicked again to the front door as if he could already hear footsteps that weren't there. The baby's cries bounced off empty booths and old ceiling fans. Rosa would hear them any second. Elena crouched beside the booth, careful not to jostle the car seats. Up close she caught the smell, iron and rain and expensive cologne trying and failing to cover the rest. "You have names?" she asked, because her brain wanted something normal. His eyes softened a fraction as he looked down at them. "Leo," he said, nodding toward the boy. Then his gaze slid to the girl. "Lena." The way he said them was different from everything else. It was a promise. Elena's heart stuttered. She reached into her apron and pulled out her phone. His hand shot out and caught her wrist with a strength that didn't match the way he was swaying. "No," he said, and for the first time fear cracked through the control. Not fear of dying. Fear of losing them. Elena stared at his hand on her wrist, then at the baby's, then back at his face. He was pale beneath his olive skin, sweat beading at his hairline even though the diner was cold. His breathing was shallow, clipped. "Elena," Rosa's voice called from the kitchen, cheerful and oblivious. "You ready to lock up?" Elena didn't answer. Her mind raced through options, each one colliding with the next. Call 911 and invite whatever he was terrified of. Do nothing and watch him bleed out under the glow of a neon pie sign. Leo let out a broken, exhausted cry that sounded like a plea. Elena made a decision without knowing she'd made it. She slid her phone back into her apron. "Listen," she whispered, leaning in close enough to feel his breath. "Can you walk?" His gaze held hers, sharp even through the pain. "Adrian," he managed, like he needed her to have that much. "Adrian Vale." Then his eyes rolled back for half a second and his head knocked softly against the booth's cracked vinyl. Rosa's footsteps started down the hallway. Elena's pulse thundered as she reached for the car seat handle. Rosa's shadow stretched across the hallway tile before she appeared, wiping her hands on her apron, eyes already narrowing at the crying. "Elena!" Rosa Bellini stopped dead when she saw the corner booth. The car seats. The man. The blood. Her mouth tightened. Madonna! Elena stood too fast. "Rosa! How long?" Rosa asked. "I don't know," Elena lied. "I just heard them." Rosa moved in, leaned toward Adrian's shoulder, and her eyes sharpened. "That's a bullet." Adrian's eyelids fluttered. He tried to straighten and failed, jaw clenching. Rosa snapped her gaze to Elena. "Call an ambulance." Elena's stomach dropped. "He said no." "Of course he said no," Rosa hissed. Then she looked at the babies. Leo was purple with effort. Lena's cry had gone thin, frightened. Rosa's voice lowered. "Are they his?" Adrian forced his eyes open. "My children." Rosa held him in a hard stare. "You bring this to my diner, you bring danger." He didn't deny it. Elena stepped in without thinking. "Rosa, please." "He's fading." Rosa exhaled, irritated and resigned at once. "Back door," she said. "Now. Before anyone else walks in." Elena blinked. "You're helping." "I'm protecting my diner," Rosa said, already moving. She flipped the closed sign and killed half the lights. The diner dimmed into a tired glow. "Elena," Rosa said, voice sharp. "Car seats first. Then him." Elena lifted Leo's seat by the handle. Heavy. Real. Leo's scream hit the ceiling fan and bounced back at her. "It's okay," Elena murmured, and hated how much she needed to believe it. She carried Leo toward the back. Lena's seat came next, her small face slick with tears, eyes wide as if she was memorizing Elena. Rosa cracked the rear door. Cold air rushed in, smelling of wet concrete. "If anyone asks," Rosa said, "he was never here." Elena's pulse spiked. "What if?" "Don't," Rosa cut in. "Hesitation gets people killed." Elena went back for Adrian. He was trying to stand, bracing on the table. The moment he put weight on his legs, his knees buckled. Elena caught him under the arm. He was tall and heavy, bleeding down her sleeve. She felt him tremble with the effort of staying conscious. "Easy," she whispered. His breath grazed her ear. "You shouldn't." "I'm already doing it," Elena said. Rosa came in on his other side and hooked an arm around his waist with surprising strength. "On 3, Rosa ordered. 1, 2, 3. They hauled him upright. Pain flashed across Adrian's face, controlled but brutal. He didn't groan. He just breathed through his teeth, eyes fixed on the back door. Outside, the alley was narrow and slick. Elena's old pickup sat under a broken light, hood beaded with rain. A car passed on the street beyond, tires hissing. Elena's head snapped up, listening. Adrian stiffened. "They're close." Rosa hissed, "Move." They got him to the passenger side. Elena fumbled the handle. The door opened with a squeal that felt too loud. Elena helped Adrian fold into the seat. He grabbed the dash, knuckles white, breathing shallow. His eyes kept cutting toward the street, calculating. Elena ran back for the car seats and shoved them into the back, wrestling the belts with shaking fingers. Leo's cries tapered into wet hiccups. Lena's whimpers softened as exhaustion took her. Rosa stood at the alley mouth like a sentry. Rain glistened on her hair. "Go," she said. "And don't come back tonight." Elena's throat tightened. "Rosa, Rosa waved her off, but her eyes were softer than her voice. "You're a good girl," Elena. That's your problem. Elena slid behind the wheel and turned the key. The engine coughed once, twice, then caught. In the side mirror, headlights rolled slowly past the diner's front window, lingering a beat too long. Adrian's hand closed over Elena's wrist again, urgent. "Drive," he breathed. "Now." Elena drove like the city was chasing her. Rain streaked the windshield, blurring traffic lights into red smears as she cut across side streets she'd known since childhood. Her hands locked around the wheel. Her eyes flicked constantly. Mirror, road, mirror. Adrian slumped in the passenger seat, jaw tight, breath shallow. One hand stayed curled toward the back seat, fingers twitching every time Leo or Lena made a sound. "They still there?" he asked. Elena didn't lie. "I don't know." His mouth pressed into a thin line. "Then keep moving." She ran a yellow light. Then another. Her truck rattled in protest. In the back seat, Leo cried again, sharp and angry. Lena joined him, softer but relentless. The sound wrapped around Elena's chest and squeezed. "Almost there," she said, though she wasn't sure who she was talking to. Her apartment building loomed up like a tired sentinel, 4 floors, peeling paint, one light flickering near the entrance. She parked crooked and jumped out before the engine finished dying. Adrian tried to stand on his own. He failed. Elena caught him, his weight slamming into her shoulder. Pain flashed across his face, real this time, uncontrolled. She felt the heat of him through her sleeve. "Stay with me," she said, breathless. "Please." They made it inside. The stairwell smelled like dust and boiled cabbage. Every step up felt too loud, too slow. On the second floor, a door cracked open. A woman's eyes flicked over them, blood, babies, fear. The door shut without a word. Elena had never been so grateful for indifference. By the time they reached her apartment, her arms were shaking. She got Adrian onto the couch and went back for the twins, carrying both car seats like something fragile and sacred. She locked the door, then locked it again. For a moment, she just stood there, staring at the scene she'd created. Blood on her couch. Babies on her floor. A stranger breathing like every inhale might be his last. "Okay," she said out loud. "Okay." She moved on instinct. First aid kit. Towels. Scissors. Alcohol. The remnants of a life she'd walked away from. Adrian's eyes fluttered as she cut his coat and shirt away. The wound was ugly but clean, entry and exit, no shrapnel. He was burning with fever. "This will hurt," Elena warned. He nodded once. She cleaned it fast. Efficient. The way she'd been taught. Adrian's body went rigid, a low sound breaking from his throat, but he didn't pull away. When she finished bandaging, her hands were steadier than she expected. "You should be dead," she muttered. He managed a breathless smile. "I try not to be." The fever hit hard around 4 in the morning. Adrian thrashed weakly, words slipping into Italian, then breaking apart. Elena pressed a cool cloth to his forehead, murmuring nonsense just to keep him anchored. His hand found hers, gripping tight. "Don't let them," he whispered. "Alessia." Elena leaned closer. "Who?" He didn't answer. His grip loosened. Later, when the apartment went quiet except for breathing, Elena found his wallet while looking for ID. She hesitated, then opened it. Cash. Too much. And a photo. Adrian, smiling. Younger. His arm around a dark-haired woman with a hand on her pregnant belly. Both of them glowing. Alessia. Elena looked at Leo and Lena and felt the understanding settle heavy in her chest. By morning, the fever broke. Adrian woke slow, eyes focusing on the ceiling, then the babies, then her. "You stayed," he said. "Yes." Outside, a car door slammed. Tires rolled past and slowed. Elena went still. Adrian's gaze snapped to the window. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. They stopped. Right outside her door. The knock came soft at first. 3 taps. Casual. Patient. Elena didn't move. Her lungs locked, every sound inside her body suddenly too loud. Across the room, Adrian was already sitting up, eyes sharp despite the color still drained from his face. Another knock. Louder. "Elena," a man's voice called through the door. Friendly. Wrong. "Building maintenance. We're checking the radiators." It was 10 in the morning. No one checked radiators on a Sunday. Adrian shook his head once. Slow. Absolute. Leo shifted in his car seat, a warning sound building in his throat. Elena crossed the room in 2 silent steps and rested her hand on the handle, grounding him. He quieted, confused but calm. The doorknob turned. Stopped. The chain rattled. Elena's heart slammed so hard she thought it might give her away. From the couch, Adrian's hand slid beneath the thin cushion, fingers closing around something Elena hadn't seen him move. A gun. The voice outside lowered. "Apartments occupied." Another voice answered, closer now. "So." A pause. Heavy. Then, footsteps. Retreating, but not hurried. Elena waited until her legs trembled before she breathed again. She moved to the window, just enough to see without being seen. A black SUV idled at the curb. 2 men stepped into it, glancing once at the building before pulling away. "For now." She turned back to Adrian. "They'll come back." "Yes," he said quietly. "But not like that again." She swallowed. "How long?" Adrian exhaled slowly. "A day. Maybe 2. The silence that followed was thick, pressing. Elena ran a hand through her hair. "I have to go to work." He looked at her sharply. "No." "If I don't," she said, "that's suspicious." "I go. I act normal. You stay here." Curtains closed. "That puts you in their path." Elena met his gaze, steady. "I'm already in it." He held her eyes for a long second, then nodded once. Reluctant. Respectful. "Be careful," he said. At the diner, Elena moved like a ghost. She poured coffee, smiled at strangers, nodded at Rosa's questions. Every bell on the door made her flinch. Every dark coat pulled her attention. Rosa studied her once, long and sharp. "You look like hell." "Didn't sleep," Elena said. Rosa grunted. "Joined the club." During her break, Elena checked her phone 6 times. No messages. No calls. Silence was worse. When her shift finally ended, she didn't linger. She bought groceries she couldn't afford and carried them home with her nerves strung tight. The apartment was quiet when she unlocked the door. Too quiet. "Adrian," she called softly. "I'm here." Relief hit her knees. He was upright now, color better, pain controlled behind clenched teeth. The twins lay on a blanket between them, fists waving, eyes bright. "You okay?" she asked. "Yes." His gaze softened when it found her. "They're okay." She set the bags down and crossed the room without thinking. Only stopped when she realized how close she was. Too close. "Someone knocked," she said. "I know." Her eyes flicked to the couch cushion. "You had a gun." "I still do." She nodded, absorbing it. "They came back." "No." "Not yet," went unspoken. They fell into a strange rhythm that night. Quiet voices, dim lights, shared focus on the twins. Elena cooked. Adrian watched, alert even while sitting still. At one point, Leo began to cry in earnest. Adrian stood too fast, pain flashing hard. Elena was there before he fell. She steadied him with both hands. Felt his breath hitch. felt his control fray. "Sit," she said. He didn't argue. Later, when the twins finally slept, the apartment settled into an unfamiliar stillness. Adrian broke it. "You shouldn't be here." Elena looked at him. "Neither should you." A corner of his mouth twitched. "Fair." He grew serious again. "If they come back, if it goes bad, you say I forced you. You didn't know who I was." "No." "Elena." "I won't," she said, firm. "I made this choice." Something shifted in his eyes. Not relief. Respect. Outside, an engine turned over. Slow. Lingering. Adrian's gaze snapped to the window. Elena felt it before she saw it, the weight of being watched. The black SUV rolled back into view. And this time, it didn't drive away. The SUV stayed parked across the street until nightfall. Elena watched it from behind the curtain, counting the minutes by the rise and fall of Leo's chest. Lena slept with one hand curled in the blanket, stubborn even in rest. "They're waiting," Elena said. Adrian sat on the couch, pale but upright, gun hidden again beneath the cushion. "They want movement. Proof." "Then they won't get it," Elena said. He studied her. "You're not afraid." "I am," she said quietly. "I just decided it doesn't get to choose for me." Outside, the SUV's engine finally cut. Not leaving. Settling in. That was when Adrian's phone vibrated. Once. Then stopped. Elena's breath caught. "That's them." "Yes." He didn't reach for it. His jaw tightened, eyes darkening with calculation. Or someone pretending to be. The phone vibrated again. Longer this time. Elena waited, letting him decide. Adrian picked it up and answered without speaking. A voice spilled through the speaker, low, familiar, careful. "Boss." "It's done." Adrian closed his eyes. The tension bled out of him in a single, controlled breath. "They won't be coming back," he said after a moment. "Not like this." Elena didn't relax. "That doesn't mean we're safe." "No," Adrian agreed. "It means we have a window." The SUV across the street pulled away 10 minutes later. No hurry. No disguise. Gone. That night, neither of them slept. They sat on opposite sides of the room, listening to the twins breathe, waiting for sounds that never came. Dawn crept in through the thin curtains, pale and unremarkable. Normal. By noon, Adrian could stand without swaying. By evening, he could hold Leo without grimacing. On the third morning, he dressed in clean clothes Elena had borrowed from a neighbor who didn't ask questions. He looked different without the blood and fever. Sharper. Dangerous in a quieter way. "I have to leave," he said. Elena nodded. She'd known the words were coming. "I know." He hesitated. Something uncharacteristic flickered across his face. Uncertainty. "Come with us," he said. The room went still. Elena laughed once, breathless. "That's not. I'm serious." He stepped closer, careful, like he didn't want to startle her. "I can keep them safe. But they need more than guards and silence. They need you." She shook her head. "You don't know me." "I know enough," Adrian said. "You stayed when you could have walked away. You lied when the truth would have been easier. You chose them." Elena looked at Leo and Lena. At the way they turned their heads toward her voice, even in sleep. "My life is here," she said, but the words felt thin. "Is it?" Adrian asked gently. "Or is it just familiar?" The question landed where it hurt. Elena thought of empty nights. Of surviving. Of how alive she'd felt these past days, terrified and purposeful all at once. "Say no," Adrian said quietly, "and I'll understand." She didn't answer right away. When she did, Her voice was steady. "Okay." The word surprised both of them. Adrian exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. They left before sunrise. Weeks later, Connecticut felt unreal. Quiet streets. Trees instead of sirens. Space to breathe. Elena pushed the stroller while Leo and Lena babbled, their laughter soft and ordinary. Adrian walked beside her, his arm brushing hers with each step. "No regrets?" he asked. Elena thought of neon lights. Blood on vinyl. A choice made in 30 seconds that rewrote everything. She smiled. Not one. Somewhere far away, a life ended. Here, one began. If this story pulled you in, stay here. Subscribe. The next one goes even deeper.